so that the people that the messages land with, it resonates, it makes
It
sense,
resonates.
it's actually beneficial, it actually helps them. So if you're saying stuff
Mhm.
for clickbait, you're gonna get clicks, but you're also gonna get a lot of haters at the end of the day.
Yeah. So today's guest is Devon Jones, a fractional leader and executive coach. Devon's path was shaped by building, failing, and taking responsibility early. From running small businesses as a kid to working 38 jobs and launching multiple ventures, each chapter demanded discipline, resilience, and self-leadership. Through years in real estate photography and running a record label, he developed structure, emotional control, and personal standards. Today, Devon works as a fractional leader, helping people to create clarity, internal order, and the mindset required to lead their lives, build businesses with strength and intention. Hi, Devon. I'm so excited to have you here on the show. How are you today?
Wonderful. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So I gave a little bit of an introduction for you, but why don't we start off with your background, your origin story, and how you got into the kind of work that you're doing today?
Um, I guess we kind of have to go as far back as my high school career, if you want to call it that. Um, I never fit in. I had a hard time making friends. I didn't know how to talk to
Okay.
girls. I was a skinny, nerdy, very odd and eccentric individual. And I think that came from my early days of being that my parents were entrepreneurial as well. We hopped around from different homes a number of times before we finally settled in, and um, so I had to face this recurring theme of new school, new kid, new identity, try to figure out who and where I wanted to fit in. And then, eventually we landed on a farm outside of town in a very small town school, a very tight knit community, and didn't really have any options in terms of just where I could go. So I was kind of like stuck in this place, and that led to a whole bunch of mental health issues that I um, had faced as I grew up. Um, this led me into one particular scenario where um, I encountered a death uh, on a road leading to the school. I was a witness of an accident that had happened, and it kind of messed me up a little bit, as I'm sure you can imagine. And
Mhm.
so, for the latter part of that school year, I went and saw the school provided guidance counselor and had a lot of very deep and meaningful conversations, at least I thought, with her. And the following year, when we came back from summer break, I went to go talk to her again, and she didn't remember who I was. Another
Shit.
very jarring experience. So you can imagine this compounding, and then, other. Um, I just experienced a lot of death when I was growing up. There's a lot of people that were inside my circle at the school. It was kind of like a cursed school. Every year, somebody's kid died, and so it was a nightmare, and that led me down a very dark path. I had my own suicidal ideations and struggles with trying to find myself and who I was. And then I get out of high school, and my dad kind of posed me this question. He said, because I wasn't doing very well, obviously, he said, you either get your shit together or, and get your degree or whatever, or get out of this environment and go do something with your life.
Mhm.
So I opted for the latter because I could not stand going back to that place another day. And
Mhm.
um, I started my journey down the path of becoming unemployable. So I had between the time I left high school and the time I decided I was just not made for that and I was meant to be an entrepreneur myself, I had 38 different jobs and a wide breadth of different industries and businesses and um, different scopes of work. And all of it kind of led me to the belief that, hey, listen, I'm not meant to be the guy who just sits around and takes orders. I'm a creator. I was a musician. I made music at the time. I still make music today, but back then it was kind of like my creative outlet. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to try to pursue this a little bit more intentionally. Me and my
Mhm.
dad, we kind of partnered up and started a business where we did virtual tours and photography and real estate services for realtors. And that was kind of that there was like a decade there of time where I had to really kind of like hone in my skills and figure out like what it meant to be the guy who had to wake up every day and like go to work and do your thing and you had to be your own boss. And that was my first kind
Mhm.
of eye-opening self-development experience, was figuring out that some I couldn't be told by somebody else what to do. I had to be the guy to tell myself what to do, and if I wasn't,
Mhm.
then I was lazy, I slept in, I missed appointments, and, I was screwing things up left, right, and center, and simultaneously to this, I was pursuing, a record label. So, the whole premise behind the record label was we were offering development deals where we would work with artists to create brand, marketing strategy, develop their audience, and turn their craft or passion into a business. No monumental successes, bearing in mind we started back in the days where you could literally press CDs in your bedroom and then go downtown and sell them outside of clubs and make a pretty decent income doing that.
Mhm.
And then, Napster and LimeWire and all this online streaming happened. And so we had to shift
I
the model and
remember Napster.
yeah, back in
Yeah.
the good old days, right?
Yeah.
So we shifted the model and did a bunch of things to kind of adapt, and that was where I started honing in on my marketing skills. I was learning, how do we build funnels and websites and landing pages and emails and Facebook ads. There's like a whole bunch of stuff. It was like the crash course of YouTube University, and then you're falling down other people's funnels, and I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars every year on all of these different courses and things to kind of help me figure out how to do this for the artist. And so those two things kind of ran in tandem until very recently. And I'm gonna say about 2019, um, I was launching a podcast myself. And on that podcast, I was exploring the rebellious nature of the entrepreneur. And so I was having conversations with a lot of entrepreneurs in my local community here in Calgary. And then I met a gentleman by the name of Parnell Ramwell, and he and I kind of hit it off. We had a really great conversation. He was also kind of in the content space, and he said, "Hey, why don't we launch a media company?" And Seven Tree Media was born. Our
Mhm.
primary offer was content systems for small businesses. We did a few different podcasts for some notable local businesses, and then COVID hit, and we had to reframe the whole thing. Parnell went back to work. He had a couple other businesses that he had on the go, and so he kinda just left me with Seven Tree Media to kinda figure out the direction that I was gonna take with everything there. So we started doing things a little bit more remotely, and then we started developing sales systems because the marketing wasn't enough to keep clients around. I'm sure as you probably
Mhm.
know, you can bring people in, but if you can't sell them and get their money, then, the marketing's always bad. That's always the problem. So
Mhm.
we leaned into sales systems and that sort of thing, which gave birth to fractional leadership, where I took on projects where I was working with leaders of other businesses or entrepreneurs and helping them set up all of their systems, not just the marketing, not just the sales, but the operational side of things. And so that was kind of the development of me as an entrepreneur. Now, all along, the thing that I learned, and this is what I think is the most important, and one of my newest projects that I'm going to be working on is entrepreneurship is actually just self development in disguise. It
Mm.
is figuring out who you need to be to become somebody who can lead a group of people towards solving problems for other people. And all along the way, I just found myself encountering all of these mindset blocks and, just beliefs that I had about myself or about the world that didn't serve me or didn't serve the people that I was trying to help. And so, in all of that, I kind of unlocked um, my own potential in terms of just who I could become. Um, I eliminated the mental health issues. I got rid of my anxiety. I got rid of all of the things that were getting in my way. Um, and I know it kind of sounds like a little bit too good to be true, but I quite literally cured anxiety for myself and have now started developing, because I'm nerdy this way, but developing systems and um, tools and things like that to help other people kind of break through some of these barriers. So that's I guess the long and short of it for who I am and how I ended up here on your show.
So it sounds like you're kind of self-taught in a lot of these things. Like, like the marketing and the sales and like the figuring out how social media works and all of these things, like, and a lot of, like YouTube University you had said. So, would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I like the fail fast, fail frequent, fail forward mantra.
Yeah, fail forward. That was an episode that I had actually, fail forward, right? Because a lot of the
Yes.
time when things go wrong and it actually becomes like a learning experience for you to improve on things in the future. So I really like that idea of failing forward.
Yeah, too many people get stuck in the how part of it. Like, okay, I
Mhm.
have this idea, how do I make that happen? And then you start analyzing, and even if you're like proactive enough to sit down and actually start writing some of these things out,
Mhm.
you get stuck there, and that becomes the first major hurdle to get over. Is, well, I don't know how to do those things.
Mhm.
Nobody knows how to do anything until you start doing it, and that's how you learn to do the
Mhm.
thing. And Kobe Bryant didn't hold a basketball, go, "Oh, I don't know how to put this in the net, so I'm just not gonna do it." He just
Mhm.
started throwing the ball and
Yeah.
figuring things out as he went, and that's exactly the premise, that I like to live my life by, is that there's only so much that I can do right now to figure out what I know and what I don't know, but I don't know what I don't know.
Mhm.
And that right there is the key. So my only goal then should be to figure out what I don't know, and then I can learn about that thing that I don't know. I can overcome that because it's something I've identified. But I'll never know
Mhm.
what I don't know unless I trudge forward towards that, unless I start taking those small steps. There's this really great story that I heard recently about, it's like one of those proverbs or whatever, where um I think it's like a frog and a horse or something like that. And the frog is like, "I'm stuck. I don't know how to get out of this mess that I'm in." And the horse says, "Well, can you see your next step?" And the frog goes, "Well, yeah, I can see that." And okay, well then just take that step.
Mhm.
And so the frog takes the step, and he's like, "Oh, okay, now I see something new." And it's in that pursuit
Mhm.
of the goal that you figure out what the path actually is. And it's not always what you expect it to be either.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of the things that people get overwhelmed by the how, and I know that this is a big hurdle for me that I work through daily. Is like I have this vision in my brain for the future that I want for like for me, for the business, for DJing, or for whatever, right? And it's like I see the vision, but then it feels like it's so far away, and I'm like, how am I ever to get there, right? And you always have to remind yourself, like, okay, how do you like run a marathon or how do you climb a mountain or how do you eat an elephant? You know, it's like one step at a time, like one bite at a time. And so trying not to get overwhelmed by like the giant mountain versus, okay, I'm just going to start walking.
Yeah, that's so funny that you say that because, I think one of the analogies that I used when I first met you was, there's 3 ways that I can help you.
Yes.
We're gonna try to climb this mountain and get to the top of the mountain, and it's a big mountain, and I know how overwhelming that is. Now, if
Yeah.
you're brave enough to do it by yourself, I'll give you a radio and I'll keep one and you can go, and if you need help
Yeah.
or a bear jumps out, then,
Yeah.
radio down, and if you need a little bit more help than that, then I'll come with you. I'll grab a bag, you grab a bag, we both go up the
Mm.
mountain. That way, when the bear jumps out, we
Yeah.
can both fight the bear together, and it's a little bit
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
And then the final one is, if we need to and and the budget supports it, I can call my guy with a helicopter. He can just fly us to the top of this thing, and
Yeah.
everybody's
Yeah.
happy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alex Hormozy used this really, really great analogy, for us to kinda keep things in perspective when we're in pursuit of some of these really big, high level things is, um, who was Jennifer Lawrence before she was Jennifer Lawrence? She was nobody. Nobody knew who she was. She was just like this girl in a town doing her own thing and trying to become
Mhm.
an actress or whatever. And then one day she auditioned for a role, and then the people who are kind of the gatekeepers of that thing, they gave her that role, and then they spent $50 million marketing that movie, and then Jennifer Lawrence is a celebrity.
Mhm.
And so if we want that same level of achievement or the same level of accomplishment, we have to match that same level of investment in ourselves. And
Mhm.
like the hard part that people see, especially in the kind of earlier stages of trying to build something or do something, is how small the investment is does not feel like it's going to get you to the top of the mountain.
Mhm.
And it's a
Mhm.
compounding thing that most people can't really picture because it starts small, right? It'll
Mhm.
take you a year to get your first 1,000 subscribers, but then after you have 1,000 subscribers, every month it's another 1,000 subscribers.
Mhm.
But it's like
Mhm.
the hard part is being true to yourself and sticking it out for those first 12 months because that part is hard. But then when you get there, how do you stay in the zone and keep maintaining and managing
Mhm.
your own your own thought, the inner dialogue that you have about like, okay, well, if it took me a year to get here, I got 1,000, I only got 40 years left on this earth, and then I'm gonna only have 40,000 subscribers. This is stupid. I don't want to do it anymore.
Mhm. Mhm.
I see how we're really good at like talking ourselves out of something, but we're
Yeah,
not
and
good enough at, and this is one of the skills that I want to be able to teach to people, is like we're not good enough at talking ourselves into the thing.
mhm. Well, it's like we always think about what could go wrong versus like what could go right. So it's
Mm,
like someone just showed this to me the other day actually. It was like the question that you should be, because we always think, okay, like what if everything goes wrong, shit hits the fan and blah blah blah, like I'm broke or I go bankrupt. But it's like what if everything works out and I create a $1 million business and I get to help people around the world through this business or something like that. Like, what if everything goes right? Like, what if I thought about people being there to help and support me with achieving my goals versus, everybody's against me and blah blah blah, right? And it's just
right.
that mindset shift.
Well, this is, I think, what they talk about, and where most people get this wrong is the law of attraction and manifestation, and some of these more like woo-woo ideas of operating at a certain frequency to get what you want out
Mhm.
of life. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that if you think something, it's going to be true or whatever. Like, um, I don't want to advocate for something that's not real because there's still action that has to follow this. But
Mm.
the thing that people miss about this is that our brains aren't designed to keep us happy or make us happy.
Mhm.
That's a byproduct of us doing something and achieving an outcome that was a desirable outcome that matches or meets an expectation. So our brain's not there to make us happy, then what is it there for? To protect us. All of our programming and wiring in the reticular activating system is designed to filter information to protect you. And so that's why our default natural state is, what if something bad?
Mhm.
So you have to proactively work at adjusting those thought patterns because that's all it is. It's just a program. The wiring in your brain just keeps firing this way. And if you
Mhm.
stop thinking that thing and then it stops firing, and eventually that's no longer the default path.
Mhm.
The new default path is this one here that you're in more intentionally creating.
Mhm.
The other side of this is that our thoughts, the voice in our head, although it feels real, it is not. And now it feels so real that it creates physiological responses in our body. You can think about a scenario like, hey, I got to go talk to my boss about a raise. And I know it's a really generic example, but if I just said that somebody's listening to this right now, some of the people listening to that automatically got a response in their body because they imagined themselves doing that and it stressed them out. And so they had an
Mhm.
adrenaline dump and some cortisol just got released into their system. And now they are in fight or flight.
Mhm.
Somebody listening to this right now is going to feel that. The reality is that that thought is there now to protect you. And so one of the things that I teach, especially in this particular situation, is first is to acknowledge the thought and then find a way or a reason to be grateful for it because you know now, in listening to what I'm sharing with you, you know now that that thought is not there to make you happy. It is there to
Mhm.
protect you. And so you got to be grateful. Hey, thank you, RAS, for trying to protect me. Now, how much
Mhm.
of this is reality? Am I going to walk into my boss's office and say, hey, boss, I've been doing a really great job at XYZ, and I think that I should be properly compensated for that. How do you feel about giving me a small bump in my pay? How much
Mhm.
of that is going to result in you dying? 'Cause that's what's
0.
happening, right?
Yeah.
0% is gonna result in you dying, but here's what you might think is gonna happen. You go in there, you say that to your boss goes, you're an idiot. The things that you are saying to me aren't true. You're an imposter, and I'm going to fire you for even having the audacity to think that you deserve a raise. Get out of my office. And then you're going to go home. You can't pay your bills. Then your landlord, he's going to show up and be like, where's my money? And he's going to kick you out because you didn't pay your bills. And now you're homeless. You're on the streets and you're in the garbages digging through the back of McDonald's trying to find something to eat. Oh my God, you can't find something to eat. And then an axe murderer comes out from behind you because you're on the streets and then kills you, and now you're dead. Now, we don't think this, but we think it.
Yeah, well, that's probably, like, the subconscious thoughts that are going like, running in the background, like, if I ask my boss for a raise, I'm gonna end up getting murdered by an axe murderer in the back of a McDonald's parking lot, like,
Right.
that's
And
a
how fast
wild
we can,
ride.
yeah, how fast we can get there, right? Like, and I get
Yeah.
how silly it sounds when I say it out loud, but
Yeah.
our brains are doing that math already, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
they don't necessarily jump to axe murder in the back of McDonald's, but they go through all of the negative things like, you know what? It's just safer to stay right here and not ask for a raise.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
we don't do the thing.
So there's a few different things that I wanted to talk about because okay, so the two words that stood out at me were identity because you had said in the beginning like you had changed your identity quite a bit moving around all the time. So like shifting our identity to become whoever we want to become. But then when you talked about Jennifer Lawrence, you also talked about gatekeepers and like how do we when we know like that there are gatekeepers, for certain things. Like, how do we kind of still pursue our goals and the things that we want when there are those kinds of gatekeepers? So I don't know which road you want to go down.
Okay. I'm gonna just tie it all together because I love this whole thread.
Okay.
Let's start with identity. Identity is
Okay.
actually the root cause of all of your problems. I'm gonna say something, and I'm gonna have to say it a couple of times for you and for the listeners to really get what's going on here. Okay, so
Okay.
you're not who you think you are, and you're not who I think you are. You are who you think I think you are.
You've said this to me a few times.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea here is, and if you don't get it, play that back a couple of times. But the idea here is that you'll never ever know who truly I really am. Right? You're never ever going to know the thoughts that I think, the experiences I've had, because you can't be here. I can share some of them with you, but in order for you to fully, truly understand who I am as a person, you would have to spend every waking second of your life living my life, and you'll never be able to do that.
Uh-huh.
So, I am the only person who knows who I am, and I get to decide what that identity is. Insert or in comes ego. Ego is
Uh-huh.
your sense of self, your identification, how you label yourself. Now,
Uh-huh.
ego's a really great thing in a lot of scenarios. It's also a terrible thing in a lot of other scenarios. So I don't want to villainize or demonize it, but I also do want to acknowledge how it is serving you and how it's not serving you. So the identity, who you think you are, is based on the environments that you're in and how you think the people that are in those environments are perceiving you. So
Uh-huh.
perfect example of this is when I'm at home and when I'm with my significant other
Uh-huh.
versus when I'm at work in front of my customer.
Uh-huh.
We call this the customer service voice.
Uh-huh.
It's all of a sudden you're a completely different person. Oh, hi, welcome to Tim Hortons. We're here to make sure you
Uh-huh.
get your donuts.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever your
Yeah.
customer service voice is, that is you in live action role play.
Uh-huh.
And then when you go home, you take that off, but then you got to put a different version of you on for the other person that's in the room, whoever that is. If it's your kids, or if it's your husband or wife, or if it's your mother or your father, your mom and your dad have an expectation of who you should be. And so you are doing your best to like make it look like you are that person to them. But in reality, you're just like, oh, this is just a thing.
Uh-huh.
Imagine how exhausting that is.
Uh-huh.
How tired must you be trying to act like something for somebody else in every scenario that you're in? And it's because we have an attachment to labels. We have an attachment to a definition of who we are, who we should be, or whatever. So I
Uh-huh.
challenge you to sit quietly by yourself and just look at all of the different places that you're trying to show up and what you're trying to show up as, and then just see how congruent that is with who you are by yourself sitting here right now in quiet.
Uh-huh.
It's that part. So once we kind of figure out the defeat of the ego, right? Now, the ego is there to protect that version of us. And I can go down another rabbit hole with this, getting into some psychology, just kind of basic stuff. But when this goes wrong and you've experienced some trauma as a result of who you think you are or your identity or whatever, and this is usually a mom and dad thing or a significant other, like a bad relationship or whatever, when there is a fracture there and it's not properly addressed and not properly healed and not properly managed, this manifests into borderline personality disorder.
Mhm.
And the deeper that crack goes, where your identity, who you have to be and who you think you're supposed to be for everybody else, you don't truly have an identity. You're just trying to be an identity for somebody else. And then this group and
Mm.
this group, when they come together, you can't be both identities at once. And that's really hard. And now you shut down. Now you're
Mhm.
anxious. Now you have that social anxiety, or you're in those really, really stressful environments. That's the reason why.
Mhm.
So, deepening that a little bit further, if we keep going down that rabbit hole, you'll see how that branches out. The deeper that crater, the closer you get to schizophrenia, where
Mhm.
your personalities quite literally fracture completely, and now they don't even communicate except for on a subliminal level.
Mhm.
But this also leads to all of the other really light level mental health problems like depression, anxiety, and even into the suicidal ideations. So, all of that identity, that's who we are. An exercise that I like to do with the people that I work with is called an identity map. So, right in the middle of a page, get a piece of paper or pen, right in the middle of the page, you're going to write self. And then outside of it is 5 different areas of who you think you are. So, this is health, wealth, fitness, spirituality, and relationships.
Mhm.
And then inside of those kind of subcategories, you're going to write down the things that are important to you as it relates to your beliefs about those categories. So, a really easy one here is wealth. This is super, super simple. I have a really great analogy for this. When you write down wealth, how close to your identity do you put money? If money is like the one thing that's really, really close to you, or is it super, super far away and it's not important to you? Now, the ideal situation here is that most things are balanced across all areas of who you consider your identity to be. So, money, you write that down. Now, I'm going to just break down some beliefs about money. How many people listening to this right now, and you might want to put some comments or something like this and let me know if this hits you or um, when I'm going through it. But what are your thoughts about a billionaire?
I don't have problems with billionaires,
Good.
honestly.
Some people listening think billionaires are evil. And if
Yeah,
I'm
well,
calling you out, put a thumbs up somewhere. If I'm
I know a few people who think that way.
right.
I know a few people who think that way, but like, and I think that's a very common thought, like this money is evil. And that's why people really struggle with the idea of having money. And that's why they also struggle with making money, is because somewhere in their subconscious mind, there's this idea embedded that money is the root of all evil. Therefore, if I have some, that means I'm evil.
Yes. That's it. That's it. That's the punchline. And to go a little bit deeper on that, it doesn't matter how much, okay, billionaires, okay, I was really extreme for the sake of the illustration. If you think billionaires are all evil, then you've obviously got a problem with people having money and managing those resources.
Hmm.
The further down that comes, even if it's $100,000, if somebody makes over $100,000 and you just automatically think because they drive a Porsche or they drive a Mercedes that they're jerks,
Hmm.
your identity, your sense of self is I'm not a jerk. Therefore, I'm not going to have money. So I don't become a jerk. And so you
Hmm.
stop yourself from even ever accomplishing anything meaningful because you can't believe in who you think you are in that regard.
Hmm.
So all of those different areas, take some time, sit down and assess it on that. That's on one side of the page. Then flip the page over, redo this whole thing, and then rearrange it in the way that you wish it was. And then my
Hmm.
question to you becomes, and to whoever's doing this activity, how would that person be showing up? So we're going to just call that person the best version of you that you could possibly be. Every day, in every interaction that you have with every single person that you ever meet, just ask yourself, how would the best version of myself react in a situation? I'll tell you how this played out for me in real life, and then we'll move into the gatekeepers thing. I was just first started dating my now girlfriend, and this is like 8 years ago. So just keep that in mind. We've been
Okay.
together for a very long time, a long enough time for me to speak on this. We were maybe like 3 to 6 months into the relationship, and we're starting to get comfortable with each other, comfortable enough that conflict starts coming in. I think everybody can kind of relate to that.
Mm.
You're comfortable
Mhm.
enough
Mhm.
that, you kind of have to start addressing some of the conflicts.
Mhm.
So she said something to me that kind of made me feel like just felt attacked, like something about who I was attacked. And my natural reaction was to fire back. And I'm a
Mhm.
really great sniper when it comes to saying really horrible things to people. I've had a lot
Mhm.
of practice being a shitty person in my life. So I fired back without even thinking and I just hit her with it. And then I stormed off and I get walking down the hallway and I get into my studio and I shut the door and I'm like, no, this is not who I wanted to show up as in this new relationship.
Mhm.
I can't be this guy. What would the best version of myself do? And before I gave it any other thought, before I let myself analyze it, like, no, she deserved it, and da da da, because you can talk yourself into it, right? I was like,
Mhm.
no, what would the best version of myself do? I turned around, I opened the door, I walked back to her, I knelt down in front of the couch that she was sitting on, I looked her dead in the eyes, and I said, I'm sorry. What I said was very hurtful. That's it.
Mhm.
Nothing else. No excuse, no justification, no telling her why I did it, no helping her understand that I'm doing this because I'm traumatized. None of that. I'm sorry. What I said was very hurtful. And then I
Mhm.
just let that simmer. And as she let that kind of sink in, that I was not justifying, that I was not being manipulative, that I was not trying to gaslight or whatever, like all of her other previous boyfriends, then she became a little bit more receptive to having a further dialogue about what the actual problem was. And it was really simple to solve the conflict.
Mhm.
But the thing was, the tipping point was in the studio by myself after the door closed. I'm like, this isn't the best version of myself. When I
Mhm.
look at my self identity map in relationships, I'm the kind of guy that handles conflict with ease. That was important
Mhm.
to me. And
Mhm.
I was not handling conflict with ease. And that meant that who I thought I was not living up to. Now,
Mhm.
who I thought I was not living up to. Now we're going to bridge the gap over into gatekeepers. This is how we show up in all areas of our lives. We're really, really good at talking ourselves out of stuff. We're convincing ourselves that it's okay that we behave a certain way because we have reasons, excuses, trauma, anxiety, depression, whatever labels. We got labels for all kinds of things that help us justify poor behavior. We
Mhm.
act badly, and that's okay because A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Mhm.
The best version of myself is going to show up this way, and it doesn't matter what A, B, C, D, E, F, and G are. I still have to operate the best that I possibly can because I have a responsibility to do that for the people that I care about. In doing that, I am more in alignment with who I believe I am because I'm doing the things that I think I am. And because of that, I get this really magical feeling called confidence.
Mm.
Confidence allows me to show up in the world much differently than other people, which is why I'm able to even be here on the show having a conversation with you about some of the most intimate things in my life, is because I'm very confident in who I am. I'm confident in who I am because I made promises to myself and I kept
Mhm.
them. And I
Mhm.
keep doing that over and over and over again. And so now I have this confidence. And that confidence allows you to show up differently in the world. And so when you go and you're Jennifer Lawrence and you go and you audition for a role in a movie that you hope you can land, you show up differently than the other 800 candidates because you
Mhm.
have something they don't.
Mhm.
Confidence, congruity, who you think you are. And in those opportunities now where you're talking to those gatekeepers are also similar to you in that they made promises to themselves and they kept them. And so they're looking for other people who are like that,
Mhm.
right? They're not looking for somebody who has excuses and is anxious and depressed and scared of everything and can't do anything,
Mhm.
can't function because they need all these specific rules to exist. And if I'm calling you out, I'm calling you out. And I'm sorry, I
Mhm.
mean it with absolute 100% love and compassion because I don't want you to feel that way. I want you to feel better.
Mhm.
And in order to help you feel better, you need radical honesty. You need to be able to identify this in yourself. And so
Mhm.
if you want to get past those gatekeepers, all those jerks and evil people who see you, treat you so poorly or whatever, this is where it starts, is in that
Mhm.
identity. Who you think you are, how you're
Mhm.
showing up in the world, the promises that you're making yourself, how you're keeping them, that confidence that you develop as a result of that. You're just building an undeniable, I love this one, it's Alex Hermosi. You're building an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are.
Mhm.
And because of that, you show up in the world differently and you get different things.
Mhm.
Gatekeepers look for people like you. And then
Mhm.
they open those gates for you because you've established that you can manage that level of responsibility. If you can
Mhm.
manage yourself and keep yourself responsible, then you can manage whatever their expectation is and what they want you to be responsible for.
Mhm.
Jennifer Lawrence had a job to do when she got that role. She had to make people believe that she was that person in that movie so that when you went there, you paid your hard-earned dollars to watch 2.5 hours of her jumping around on stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
She had a responsibility, and there was a lot riding on it because the people who were making that movie, they don't know if they're gonna get their money back, and they're pouring out hundreds of millions of dollars.
Mhm.
It was the last box office hit was like $300 million. That's a
Mhm.
lot of money.
Mhm.
So the people who put that money up, they want some of that money back. That's the whole point of this. That's why they're
Mhm.
investing in it. So they wanna make sure that they're putting people that are going to be responsible in those roles, and so that's how by shifting your identity, your sense of self, who you think you
Mhm.
are, when you show up in front of these gatekeepers, they treat you differently because they know that you're not like the other 99%.
Mhm.
That's what I call doing the 1% stuff.
Mm. So, like, that is all well and good in theory, but let's say we're dealing with somebody like Harvey Weinstein, like someone who is absolutely evil and not acting in good faith and, all of the horrible things that he did to all of the women in Hollywood. How do we go about dealing with those kinds of gatekeepers?
Well, first of all, those people shouldn't be in power.
They should not.
They should
For
not
sure
be
not.
in a position
But
to
they
have
are,
that
you know?
that much power over something. Now, this kind of brings me to it's a very gray area, controversial perspective on this whole thing. Um, those people shouldn't be in positions of power, and the people who are adjacent to them, who know that that's what they're up to, should and have a responsibility to ensure that that doesn't happen because we have to maintain some level of um, decorum, some level of responsibility over other people's lives. Um, so all of that, it's very important to get that out. With great power comes great responsibility, but
Mhm.
ultimate power corrupts ultimately. And
Mhm.
so anybody that's in the game of getting better, at some point you're going to be getting so good that there's nowhere else to go, right?
Mhm.
Think, but I'm going to use a really extreme example here. Dan Blazarian, the amount of dopamine that that guy gets, what he just everywhere he goes, he's like the manliest man that's ever manned, and he gets every woman that you could ever imagine, and he has all the money and all the experiences and all the things that he could possibly just right now jump on a private jet, fly anywhere he wants with any number of women who are happy to throw themselves at him just because of the opportunities that they get because they're in his circle. He's so much dopamine that like what now?
Mhm.
It's going to be not fulfilling. It's going to be depressing. It's going to
Mhm.
become not worth it anymore. A
Mhm.
sunrise every morning just becomes 6:30.
Mhm.
So how does he reset that, right? So that's the challenge that we're up against. So ultimate power corrupts ultimately. If you're in the pursuit of that, eventually you're going to get to a place where it's like, okay, well, I need to do better than this and keep doing that. And this is how these people end up there. Some of
Mhm.
them, not all of them, but some of them are actually psychopathic. They're psychopaths. They have no
Mhm.
empathy for other humans. They don't care. They never will,
Mhm.
and nothing you say or do is ever going to change that.
Mhm.
So the problem with this is that you'll never identify those people
Yeah.
until it's too late. And now we
Mhm.
see those people in these positions and like what do we do about that? I don't propose to have a solution to that. But what I will say, and this is the controversial part about this is everything is your fault. That's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people, but
Mhm.
everything is your fault. And I'm just going to throw myself under the bus here for just a second.
Okay.
When my counselor didn't remember who I was, that sent me into a tailspin. Um, because I was like, what I don't even matter to the people I thought I'd mattered to.
Mhm.
And because that became a belief of mine, I had to test it across all of the different areas of my life, including my parents. So one day I was just goofing off in class and I got sent to the principal's office and the principal was like, "Hey, this is going on for you for a really long time. Like what's going on?" And I noticed on his desk that there was something related to child psychology or whatever, and that one of his areas of specialty was depression in young kids.
Mhm.
So I was like, "Ooh, there's a window for me to get out of trouble. You know what? I think I'm depressed." And then I just used that label and that identity to manipulate the people around me to get whatever I wanted whenever I wanted it. If my
Mhm.
parents wouldn't let me go out to a party, it's like, "Oh, well, this is why I hate you and this is why I'm depressed and this is why I'm gonna kill myself because you guys keep treating me like I'm an idiot and da 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 da." Da." And so I just
Mhm.
and the ball had already started rolling down the hill, and you know
Mhm.
how the snowball builds.
Yeah.
And eventually it turned into a place where I thought something so frequently that I believed it to be true. And now I'm actually sitting on the edge of a bridge going, like, what am I doing here? about to take my own life because of some dumb thing that I did in high school just to get my way. That's radical honesty. I don't
Mhm.
know how many other people listening to this are going to be able to do that for themselves, but if you are and you're capable, then we can come back to everything is your fault. If you are in pursuit of getting a role in a movie, I can tell you right now that there are some women who have been forced to or elected to sleep with people to get to that place.
Mhm.
But there are also just as equally true women who have gotten into positions of power and places of great wealth and prosperity not doing that.
Mhm.
And so it's up to you. And I think that if you're going to make the decision to opt for the former,
Mhm.
then you can't change your mind later and go, yeah, well, I wish I didn't do that. And then other people have to suffer as a result of your poor decision making skills.
Mhm.
That's a tough thing to say. And I get how that's going to sound to a lot of people. And um, my hope is that it's jarring enough to help people who are on the verge of making decisions like that step
Mhm.
back from that ledge. Don't make
Mhm.
that decision. Don't have those conversations. I guarantee you there is another way for you to get to where you need to be, and there is a
Mhm.
different gatekeeper that you can talk to that is much better at handling the responsibility that they have,
Mhm.
and you don't need to make that decision.
Mhm.
Now, if you're interested in compromising your integrity or yourself or your beliefs in order to get the thing that you want, that's entirely on you. But if your
Mhm.
belief is that you shouldn't have to sleep your way to the top, then don't.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
where I would advocate.
and I think, it's really it's sad. And I mean, again, like you can't believe everything that you read online, but I think that Madonna, for example, like the reason she got famous was because she slept with some producer and then he pulled strings for her or something like that. So it's a really sad indictment, though, of the system that we are in when that's the way things have to happen. Well, have to happen, or like commonly do happen. I think it's probably more so for women than men, especially. And so it's just like
Men keep
really,
doing it because they keep getting away with it, and women keep doing
yes.
it because they keep getting their way.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation. Think about
Yeah.
Kevin Federline, same thing. The dude was famous for nothing. What was he? I don't even remember what he did before
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
was
so
with
good with
Britney Spears.
celebrities. I don't really follow celebrities, like,
Yeah,
unless
he
you're
was,
Sean Connery and James Bond, like, I don't know,
right.
but
Yeah, fair enough. I'm dating myself even knowing that, but yes, it's true,
I'm
but it's
younger than you, Devin. But I will proudly state that I have seen every James Bond multiple times.
yes, well, Pierce Brosnan was my leader, and, but Daniel Craig is definitely a contender. He is
Daniel Craig was good, but what was his name? The guy with all the one-liners. He was so good. The blonde-haired guy. What was his name?
oh, I don't
Uh,
remember now.
yeah, but anyways, he was good. He was good. Purely because it was so bad. The one-liners were so bad. I'm like, "You're awesome, dude." Like,
Yeah, you gotta
mm,
appreciate that kinda humor.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
it's tough because nobody wants to think that about themselves, right? And this
yeah.
comes back to the identity, who you think you are, and how you're
Mhm,
showing up in the world. It's very important. It literally transcends all things, and that's where your sense of value
mhm,
comes from, is whether or not
mhm,
you are in congruence with who you think you are. And so
mhm,
it's terrible that some women, commonly or uncommonly, are willing to sacrifice their integrity to achieve success. Um, but no, I mean, as crazy as this might get, look at the whole Diddy thing and the number of men who also had to sacrifice their integrity to get to the level of success that they're at in
mhm.
very, very similar ways.
Well, even like Andrew Tate, and didn't like aren't they saying that he had like some sort of like women sex trafficking thing or something? Like, I mean,
There was a
again, I
couple,
don't really.
as far as I
Yeah.
know, and I don't profess to know because I don't follow it.
Yeah, me neither,
But
but
there was some controversy about, some women that he had employed and the employment that he had for them. It turns out that it was all, as far as I know, it was all, a hoax and
mhm,
just meant to, I guess, deplatform him because some of the things that
mm,
he was talking about were very controversial. albeit there was some things that he said that I agree with, some things he said that I disagree with, and the risk that you take when you put yourself out there the way that he did, especially when you're doing it in the manner that he did, is that uh, the faster you rise, the faster you fall. I call this the
Mm.
supernova effect. If you burn
Yeah,
hot and
yeah,
bright, it's not going to last very long. So I
yeah.
always say, if you're willing to tip those scales, you can benefit from that, but it's only going to be for a brief period of time. The more sustainable way is to have a really solid core message. Like, look at somebody like Tony Robbins. A
Mhm.
lot of the stuff that he talks about could be controversial, but he's not talking about it in a controversial way. He still talks
Mhm.
about a man's role and a husband's role, and he still talks about a woman's role and a wife's role in a relationship, and they are very traditional, but he
Mhm.
does not get attacked because of the way that he articulates these messages,
Mhm.
so that the people that the messages land with, it resonates, it makes
It
sense, it's
resonates.
actually beneficial, it actually helps them. So if you say his stuff for
Mhm.
clickbait, you're gonna get clicks, but you're also gonna get a lot of haters at the end
Yeah,
of the day.
yeah. So Um, so since we're kind of on the topic then, one of the things that you are also focusing on is like you do executive coaching and you kind of specialize in like men's executive coaching. So let's go down that rabbit hole and maybe we can talk about like gender differences and stuff like that. And uh yeah. So how did you get into that kind of coaching, men's coaching?
Mm. Getting divorced.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah, very jarring experience. I had this, Disneyfied perspective on the world that a man is a prince and a woman is a damsel in distress, and a man's role is to save the damsel in distress, and so I thought I did that, and it turns out that I had a lot of really, uh, skewed perspectives and poor beliefs that didn't serve me or the wife that I had at the time. Um,
Mhm.
and it was in that divorce that I was kind of forced to look in the mirror once again, as we always are in these very challenging situations. And I started my journey down the self development road as it relates to relationships. And the crazy part about this is actually everything that I learned from the pickup artist community actually translates across the board in all other fields and aspects of my life, whether that's executive
Mhm.
coaching or sales or marketing or
Mhm.
whatever personal development, all of the areas, it all kind of stems back to some very core concepts and core ideas and um, learning. Here's how it goes, right? It's like you break up with somebody and then you're on your own, and there's like this period of grief and mourning where you're like, I'll never find love again. And you're like crying in your phone every night. And very much true for myself. I don't know about anybody else, but that was my
Mhm.
experience. And that went on for a month or two. And then you're like, "Oh, I'm sick of this. I gotta do something about it," you know? So you gotta pull yourself up out of the mud and dust yourself off, and then I'm like, "Well, I need to start talking to girls," but I've only had 2 serious relationships. One was 9.5 years, my high school sweetheart, who, I broke up with her to be with my wife that divorced me,
Mhm.
and I was with her for 6.5 years. So I don't have any experience dating. I don't have to talk to
Mhm.
girls. So what do? I
Mhm.
pick up a couple of books. One of them, shout out Neil Strauss, was The Game. I fall down this rabbit hole of pickup artists and how to say what to who and to pick up
Mhm.
girls. And that surprisingly, anybody that's on the outside of that world has a very specific belief about it, and you're right to have that belief because I totally get it. You're saying things or doing things to be manipulative to get women, and that's dirty, evil, and deplorable. Totally agree
Mhm.
with you there. Here's the
Mhm.
thing: the first section of the book, the game, is talking about like, hey, this is how women operate. This is how you can say things to be confident and show up the way that they are going to say yes to you to a date and to kiss them and to sleep with them and all the other wonderful things that come from relationships. But the second 2/3 of the book is about how empty and meaningless it is to be in pursuit of these one night stand type scenarios, and how the only way he learned that lesson was by doing it. And
Mhm.
he advocates against it completely and says, listen,
Mhm.
take some of the skills and things that I'm telling you to make yourself better. Be a man with purpose. Go out there and do something important. And that's going to attract the love of your life. Somebody who's willing to sit with you in the mud when you're going through your shit and pick up the pieces and keep going. And all of the other wonderful things that you want from a life partner comes from you having some certain skills. And that means that you kind of have to show up as a man in a masculine role who is a leader and
Mm,
able to be decisive and all of the other important aspects that come along with being a man in this world. So
mhm,
my entry into this, and after all of the hard-earned lessons that I have acquired across my experience, my book working title, and I'd love to get some feedback on this, is How to Simp Without Being a Simp.
Oh, intriguing.
Yes.
Yeah.
'Cause you hear I don't know, I talk to girls all the time, and, like, we love when guys simp, except we hate simps. We don't
Yeah.
want a guy who's just, like, groveling at our feet, putting us on a pedestal, but also, like, we love when a guy, like, makes us feel special and important and gives us attention, and so there's, like, a lot of these nuanced gray area type concepts that if you can just
Mhm,
find the balance between the two extremes, like somewhere in the
mhm,
middle, you can
mhm,
find this thing. Like to be a leader is not like I'm going to tell my wife what to do all the time. Like, no, that's not
mhm,
it. It's like if you're going to go on a date, like plan it out. If you want her to be involved in planning the date out, then create options that makes it easier for her to pick what
mhm,
restaurant you eat at. Hey, listen,
mhm,
I was feeling like either Chinese or Italian tonight. Did either of those things spark your interest? You're leading by creating some options in that scenario, and she still feels like
mhm,
she gets to contribute by picking one of the two options. And she doesn't have to pick one of the two options. I'm not saying that. She might want to go and get Thai food. Doesn't matter.
mhm,
It's the action of being the leader and taking charge
mhm,
and getting in the car and taking the steps to make that happen.
mhm. So, I guess one of the things that I'm curious about your perspective on because, like, I think there's a lot of and maybe this could also just be for some reason that my Facebook algorithm has just been throwing all of this, like I don't know, like, I don't wanna call it, like, feminist kind of stuff, but it's just, like, all the ways that women feel like they're, like, "Okay, we're done with this kind of bullshit of, like, I'm supposed to contribute 50-50 to the household now, but then I'm also doing all of the household chores and doing all of the care of the kids and this, that, and the other thing," and talking about the male loneliness epidemic because women are just, like, opting out of relationships altogether because they're just kinda sick and tired of the double standards. And so I'm kind of wondering, like, what your thoughts are on, like, what do healthy relationships between men and women look like? Because now there's also this fad of like going back to the trad wife, and where men are like, no, like you have to be the leader, and women are here to serve us, and this, that, and the other thing, right? And so it's just like all of this noise happening, and I feel like there's like gender wars going on, and it's just hard to decipher.
So you remember earlier in our conversation how I pointed out you're never ever in a million years going to know who I truly am, because in order to do that you're going to have to live every single second of my experience on this earth.
Mhm.
Because of that, you only have your perspective and what you've experienced. I only have
Mhm.
my perspective and what I've experienced. And unless we actively pursue understanding other people's experiences, we're never going to know what other people's experiences are. So, what
Mhm.
this leads to is a discrepancy between the arguments that are going on here.
Mhm.
So, me and my girlfriend, we call this pink jobs and blue jobs. And
Mhm.
it's just a fun, light way of defining what responsibilities we're going to manage in the relationship, in the partnership. So
Mhm.
let's take sex and intimacy and expectation, all of that off of the table, and just look at this institutionally. And I know that
Mhm.
that's not likely going to resonate with a female audience because we're missing some emotional aspects of that, and I totally appreciate that. I'll
Mhm.
put those back in after, but right now, let's just zoom
Yeah.
out and we'll look at this from this perspective. Let's say there are 100 tasks related to operating a household. If you have kids, it might be 200 tasks. Regardless, let's just say there are 100 tasks on that list.
Mhm.
So traditionally, tasks that were very labor intensive or required dense muscle and bones and physicality to accomplish those things, like mowing the lawn, tending to the horses, building the shed outside. Those kind of fall onto traditionally a man to do because that was what the expectation was back then. It's unwritten, unspoken. It just was kind of the expectation.
Mhm.
On the other hand, there are some tasks like um, child care, like making sure that the child is being fed, making sure that it is properly clothed and bathed, and or maybe cooking dinner for the whole group of people. So these are also tasks. Okay.
Mhm.
So those tasks, because they were more human focused, more emotionally focused, or more nurturing, fell to the more feminine
Mhm.
natured people, right?
Mhm.
So so you have this traditionally the way that it was just because that's how it was, and then this traditionally because that's just how it was. And now you got these two different groups of responsibilities, and we never really sit down and like allocate who's supposed to do what. So here's what I'm going to say. Let's fix this for everybody on both sides. Take some time with your significant other. I don't care if you're a full hard left leaning feminist or you're a right wing extremist red pill man who needs to be in control of
Mhm.
every woman who's ever been in your life. I don't care. Let's
Mhm.
just assume that we're somewhere in the middle here with everybody and we all just want some semblance of balance with each other.
Mhm.
Write down what the responsibilities are in your organization, and then delegate.
Yeah.
If you don't like cooking dinner and I don't mind cooking dinner, let me cook dinner, right?
Mhm.
This is assuming too, okay? Uh, every day we both wake up, we both go to a job, and we both earn an income. I don't care which is higher or lower, it doesn't matter. We both go to work, we earn an income, we come home at the end of the day, and now we have all of these operational tasks that need to happen in order for our household to
Mhm.
be managed properly. So that's cooking, it's cleaning, it's the outside shit, it's the shoveling when the snow comes, it's the making sure the grass is mowed so you don't get a ticket, it's taking the garbage out, it's whatever all of these tasks are.
Mhm.
And if you can
Mhm.
clearly define that on both sides, the way me and my girlfriend do it is pink jobs and blue jobs because we love it. It's
Mhm.
cute, it's fun.
Mhm.
You do that. I'm the blue, she's the pink. You can assign different colors, make it green and orange. I don't care.
Mhm.
But make it clear that that's what those roles are. And, when it comes time to change the oil, if the woman's job is to change the oil, then go change the oil. I'm
Mhm.
I'm going to expect that you get that done because when I look at the list of delegated tasks, you
Mhm.
said, "Hey, listen, I don't want to cook. In exchange for not cooking, I'll change the oil once a month." Okay,
Mhm.
get out in the garage and get it done then. I don't care what your
Mhm.
excuse is. You're a part of this organization. Just like you would give your boss the best of you, your
Mhm.
husband deserves the best of you.
Mhm.
And I'll flip that around. Just as much as my boss deserves the best of me or expects the best of me in my role, my wife deserves the best of me when I come home and when I'm doing that. And
Mhm.
so I have to save a little bit of energy to make sure that I get those
Mhm.
things done.
Mhm. But I think, a lot of the time, people give the best of themselves to their job and then they
Mhm.
come home and they don't give the best of themselves to their partner. And that's a lot of the reason why there's like a disconnect in relationships. But also, like, there are certain people who are just like, again, not operating in good faith. There are certain people who, like both people work equally in the home, and yet the man comes home and the expectation is that dinner's going to be on the table for me and I'm not helping with the dishes, and fuck you telling me to take out the trash kind of thing.
Okay, so let's explore that for a second because I love this as a perfect example.
Mhm.
Why would that be an expectation for that person? And let's just outline an ideal situation where that would actually be reasonable. Let's say I work 12 hours of my time. So I have to go out and I start my job at 5 o'clock in the morning. Then I work until
Mhm.
5 o'clock at night and I come home and I'm
Mhm.
exhausted. And I got to go to bed in 2.5 hours so I can wake up again at 5 in the morning. So I
Mhm.
don't have time or energy to do anything else after that until the weekend when I can do
Mhm.
some of the tasks that I've been delegated to do. So is it reasonable then for wife who only works 8 hours and still has an
Mhm.
extra 4 hours? Is it reasonable to for her to continue contributing to the overall function of the organization by staying on shift for that extra four
Mhm.
hours by cooking, bathing the children, making sure that they're ready for bed. When he
Mhm.
comes home then at 5 o'clock, then for the last 2 to 3 hours, you as a couple get to enjoy that time together.
Mhm.
Is that a reasonable scenario?
I
And
think
do we talk about that?
that's a reasonable scenario if you discuss it, but
Yes.
there are a lot of relationships where I think they don't discuss it, and it's
Yes.
entire like they both are working 9 to 5 jobs. So but then for some reason the burden always. not always, because you can't say always and never, but a lot of the time the burden falls on the women to arrange doctor's appointments, to figure out, just drop off and pick up, to do like stay at home when kids and take the hit on, vacation time or whatever when the kids are sick and things like that. And there are these like unwritten rules that are still there when they're both working 12-hour days, for example. So, and those are the situations where are like, again, like stuff coming up in my feed where it's just like the entitlement that men think that they have to get all of the benefits of a relationship when both people are working outside the home, but they still feel entitled to the trad wife kind of roles and expectations where she's still cooking all the meals, she's still doing all the planning, all the childcare, all of this, that, and the other thing. But he's not he's not being the trad husband, where like I'm providing all the money and therefore you're providing all the at home care, right? That's
Yeah, and this is it's a tough thing because anecdotally, yeah, that sounds terrible that a woman is supposed to also work a full-time job and come home and do all of these extra tasks that have
Mhm.
been unspokenly delegated to her. That's so completely unreasonable, and I understand that.
Mhm.
However,
Mhm.
there is the expectation on the other side that a man should go to work and he should work his 10 to 12 hours and he should make $1 million a year and provide for that woman so that she could just sit at home all day and do nothing and go out for wine and get
Mhm.
her hair done and her nails done
Mhm.
and all this other stuff and then be taken on vacations and she can't be bothered to raise children and do all these other things. So there is an unreasonable expectation on the other side. And this is why I preface this whole section
Mhm.
with you remember that part of the conversation where you'll never know what my experience is, you'll only ever know what yours is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when you see women who constantly in your feed saying all these negative things, it's really easy to start to be like, yeah, actually, men are shitty. Look at how shitty they are based
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
very limited data set of women
Mhm.
who are willing to be vocal. But I promise you, for every woman that's vocal on TikTok or on Instagram or on YouTube, there's 100,000 who aren't saying anything, who are actually just happy, who are
Mhm.
happy to go to work at 6 or 8 hours, come home, make supper, make sure that her kids are fed, and then spend a couple hours watching TV with her husband, and then go home or go to bed and have sex and wake up and do it again tomorrow.
Mhm.
There's 100,000 women who are happy for that, but it's the 10 that are really, really loud on social media that make you feel like
Yeah.
all men are bad. So
Yeah.
you gotta, like, caution yourself when you're going through these types of content and you're experiencing this. Challenge yourself to look at the other side of this thing. And if you're somebody who's experiencing the problem where you feel like there's an uneven delegation of tasks,
Mhm.
pause, go talk to your husband, go talk to your wife, sit down and go, okay, let's look at all of the things. And I'm not saying to start a fight, I'm saying let's just write everything down and then assign everything a score of weight, right?
Mhm.
So if shoveling the snow in the winter, that's a 3. That job takes 3 energy out of 5.
Mhm.
Cooking dinner every night? Shit, okay, well, maybe that's also a 3. That might even be a 4, right? I don't,
Yeah.
because I cook the dinner in my household. We tried it the other way around, and it just didn't function properly. So I cook this like, I still work 10 hours.
Mhm.
I cook dinner, I keep the house clean, I do the laundry, I vacuum, I mow the lawn, I
Mhm.
shovel the driveway, I do all of the things,
Yeah.
and my girlfriend gets to go to work, do the things that provide her with fulfillment, come home to a safe, happy, clean house.
Mhm.
And as a result of that, I get to spend more time with her and we get to do more bonding.
Mhm.
I do it because I have an expectation of living in a clean house. I want
Mhm.
my house clean, therefore, it is my responsibility to have my environment my way.
Mhm.
If I want my house clean and then my expectation is it's somebody else's job to do that,
Mhm.
that's where I draw the line. If I want it that
What
way, I do the things. And that's just my personal belief. But if you're
what
somebody who
about
is stuck there, though,
Mhm.
separate the tasks, give them some weight, figure out which ones you're willing to do
Mhm.
and which ones your partner's willing to do,
Mhm.
and then try that out for a little bit. And it's not
Mhm.
nothing's set in stone, right? It's not like that permanently.
Mhm.
It's like, let's just try this and see if this works. And
Mhm.
if it doesn't, then we'll come back to the table in a month and
Mhm.
let's make some adjustments. You know what I found out? I only had to shovel the driveway 3 times this month. And so I feel like
Well, you
maybe that's
live in
not a 3.
Calgary too. Like you get those Chinooks. I'm fucking stuck here in Winnipeg where it's
Yeah.
like -40 for 4 months straight. So
Yeah. Because, well, what's the alternative? And I love this, a perfect example. What's the alternative? Be single, do it all yourself then.
yeah. Yeah.
Go to work. You gotta still come home, mow your lawn, and do your things, and you
Mhm.
still have to cook and clean for yourself. And you can,
Mhm.
yeah, sure, for a limited period of time, you'd have girl dinner where you eat gummy bears and Ritz crackers for supper. That's only gonna be sustainable for a certain period of time before you actually start. Your health is
Mhm.
affected by that, and you have to start eating healthy again and cooking
Mhm.
your own meals. And if you got kids and you're single, man, I did it. I was a single
Yeah.
father. Hi his mother moved to a whole 'nother country, so I had
Mhm.
to take care of him by myself for
Mhm.
a period of time before my girlfriend came, and we didn't even live together for the first 4 years of our relationship.
Mhm.
So I still had to cook, clean, and take care of and run my own
Yeah.
business and my
Yeah,
kid.
yeah.
I'm telling you right now, this is gonna everybody's gonna hate me. It is so much easier than you think it is. It's way easy. I don't know
Yeah.
what people are complaining about. It is super easy. It is very
Mhm.
easy. It's easy
Mhm.
because I set up systems to help myself manage it. But that's like,
Mhm.
what's the alternative? If you're not willing to participate in team-oriented delegation of tasks as it
Mhm.
relates to the operation of running your home,
Mhm.
then do it yourself.
Well, and I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes is that people don't necessarily always think of relationships as a team.
Mm.
Like, well, and I think like you speak about Alex Hormozy, and so I follow also Layla Hormozy as well. And
Oh,
so
yeah, she's the
like
best.
they're like the ultimate power couple, right? And
Yeah.
they work together to like build each other up. And it's like your partner is going to be your ultimate cheerleader and the ultimate person that either makes or breaks you as a person, as a leader, as a business person, as an entrepreneur, whatever, right? So it's about finding the right person and the person who's going to encourage you, cheer you on, like be there to help and support you. But you also have to do that for the other person, right? Like you're there pulling each other up the mountain.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And here's to the other point. You're not always going to be at 100%.
Hmm.
And so one of the I love this one too. It's like a little systems that you put into the relationship to make sure. Like when we go on date night, at the end of the date night, we ask ourselves, name one thing this week that I did that made you feel loved. And name one thing this week that made you feel like I didn't love you.
Hmm.
And if we're doing a good job, there shouldn't be anything there under the unloved category. You're gonna have a lot
Hmm.
to pick from the loved category. But the other one
Hmm.
is, when you come home and you're like and you're tired, you're exhausted, you gave it your all at work today and you screwed up and you didn't leave the extra 20% energy reserve for being at home and okay, hey, listen, there's some things that need to get done. And then you and your husband or you and your wife, you sit down, you're like, where are you at today? And we just give a score. You know what? I'm
Hmm.
operating at 20% today. Cool.
Hmm.
I'm operating at 80. Let me run it. I got it.
Hmm.
I'll take care of
Yeah.
this and I'll take care of the kids. And you just go sit down, go here, let me put you a bath. I'll get dinner ready.
Yeah.
And then other days, I'm gonna come home from work or I work from home, but, like, I'll just show up and be like, "Hey, listen, I'm only at 30% today, so I don't got it." And it's like, "Cool, then
Hmm.
let's just make supper together and we'll watch a couple of episodes of our TV thing and pass out."
Hmm.
It doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be because it's every day you're with this person forever, right?
Yeah.
Till you die. Like, that's the goal anyways, is, like,
Yeah.
everybody's aiming at marriage and this perfect, happily ever after story. Well, if you want that, then right back to the top, and I love this full circle. Be the
Hmm.
best version of yourself every day.
Hmm.
Ask yourself, what
Hmm.
would the best version of you be like in this situation? And then do your best to be that person. And over time,
Hmm.
you'll see yourself as that person instead of as an imposter.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I think like the frustrating part though again is just like when people are like not trying to be the best versions of themselves, right? Cuz not everybody is on this road to like enlightenment and self-help and all of that stuff, right? Like not everybody wants to be the best version of themselves. Some people are just here to like take advantage of other people and party and have a good time and fuck everyone else kind of thing, right? So I think that's the key is like yeah, I guess getting out of situations where you're not with someone who's also working towards those same goals as you in terms of becoming the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And in those situations, to deploy empathy and understanding and compassion in it and acknowledge that not everybody is on this path. And if I encounter somebody who is not on this path, it is not my job or responsibility to put them on this path. It is their own. The
Mhm.
old cliche saying, "You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink." That's
Mhm.
true in this scenario. And I know that you're really big on boundaries and
Well,
embracing
yeah,
that.
because I tend to be really, really open, and I have a really bad history of not setting boundaries, and then people walking all. Sorry, let's rephrase that. I'm allowing people to walk all over me, rather than saying to them, actually, I'm not okay with this.
Well, and that's because we're operating from a place of scarcity, right? We don't think that
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be another person out there for us. We'll never find somebody like this again. Or you may even
Mm-hmm.
be in a scenario where you're like, I don't want a person like this, but I don't want to be alone or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
if you could put yourself into a state of abundance again, those beliefs might shift. And so the
Mm-hmm.
easiest way for you to set the boundary and do it very early on is when you're having those first few conversations with people, get deep as quickly as you possibly can without being ashamed of doing that. And I have this saying early on in my relationship, my girlfriend hated it, but you must be this tall to ride this ride. And if you're not on the path of in pursuit of self-development, making yourself better,
Mm-hmm.
and I am, at some point, our paths are going to diverge so much that we're not gonna recognize each other. And then
Mm-hmm.
what happens then is we just hurt each other until the relationship inevitably ends. So let's save
Mm-hmm.
ourselves the trouble right now and just identify, "Hey, listen, I'm up to some stuff, and this is what I'm doing. These are my priorities. This is what's important. Is that something that you can manage? And what are your priorities? What are you up to? What is it that you're aiming at? And how can I best support you in reaching those goals?" And that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be the most ideal scenario. And as you're having those first dating conversations, instead of dating for
Mm-hmm.
self-validation or dopamine hits of, one night stands and empty meaningless sex, focus on the most important parts about it, which is the relationship, the person that you're with.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate this because we're in a day and age of digital app dating and Tinders and swiping and
Right.
and you're qualifying somebody just based on a few profile pictures and some quippy thing that they put in their description, whether or not you snorted air out of your nose when you read it. That's so silly. You need to go out into the real world, and this is part of one of the things that I'm working on in the book that I'm writing is you. So many people are on these digital apps that if you were to in real life go and approach a woman, you have zero competition.
Mhm.
It is so unusual now for a man to walk up to a woman and say something nice and then invite them for coffee, and I get it. The fear is that, if they think I'm creepy or whatever, then they're going to reject me, or even more, I could be put in danger because they
Mhm.
could make false claims, and now I'm now dealing with the law, and I don't want that either, and I totally
Mhm.
appreciate and understand that, and that's why I'm gonna teach you some of the things that you need to not show up creepy, like, not be a
Mhm.
creepy guy.
Mhm.
Regardless of what you look like, doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter how much money you have, none of those surface level things matter. All of those things can very easily, very simply be changed. You don't
Mhm.
dress properly to pick up the woman that you wanna be with. Let's just say you want the typical, like, super hot, red dress, tight body girl, if that's a woman that's kinda your ideal mate.
Mhm.
Well, showing up in sweatpants and, unkempt hair is not gonna accomplish that goal. You might
Yeah.
wanna put a suit and tie on and,
Yeah. Yeah.
brush
Oh,
your
a nice
hair.
suit. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I'm not gonna speak for all women, but I'm gonna speak for a large majority. A nice suit on a guy? Oh god.
Yeah, it goes a long way. Some
It
of these
goes a
small
long
things,
way.
yeah, they're very easily fixed. Get a haircut,
Yeah.
trim your beard. It's not even about shaving the beard. Just make it look like you care about it. Like, it's not
Yeah.
that difficult.
Gosh, and that's the other thing. Like when a man's beard is on point and those lines
Yeah,
are straight, just like, damn.
yeah. Fire, right? This
Yeah.
this is why I went with a 5 o'clock
Fire.
shadow because I was like, you know what? I can keep that.
Yeah.
I can't do a
Yeah.
beard. It drives me nuts. But
Yes. Mm.
but that's the point. Is take care of yourself. Treat yourself as if you're somebody worth respecting, and other people
Mhm.
will follow suit.
Yeah. So, I guess the other the fear, the fear or maybe the controversy, because this is something that I personally experienced, right? Like when I kind of started setting boundaries with people and saying like, this is my vision for my future. That's where I'm going. If you want to come with me, you're welcome to, but that's where I'm going. And then the response to that was, oh, you're just like a selfish bitch. And they're kind of like, okay, like I'm just here trying to become the best version of myself. And apparently that makes me selfish, right? Versus I'm proud of you for, becoming the woman who you're truly meant to be. And I'm proud of you for becoming becoming the strongest version of yourself. And that kind of mindset is really hard when those people that, you at one point in time had, like there was a connection there was a relationship there, and then those people start like attacking you for trying to become the best version of yourself.
Yeah, okay, so there's a gap there, right, between what
Mhm.
you're up to and how people are perceiving it, and I can help you bridge that gap actually really easily. So, first, let's just acknowledge and justify the purpose of why we are on these paths, is to better ourselves, to become better versions of ourselves, to go out there into the world and do something meaningful, but then what is it that is meaningful? And it's that part right there. So here, we have to take care of ourselves because nobody else is going to do it.
Mhm.
Nobody's coming to save you. You have to show up for yourself. You have to wake up in the morning. You have to shower. You have to shave. You have to take care of yourself. You have to go to work. You have to do those things. And
Mhm.
if you want to do and you want to excel in those things, you want to get a raise, you want to do better, well, you have to better yourself. Those things are all important. It's the
Mhm.
why behind what we're doing that is more important than the actual stuff that we're doing. And so here's the bridging of the gap. At first, it sounds really selfish. Oh, I'm doing this and I'm making myself better and I'm the best and I'm going to take care of myself. And here's the path that I'm on. And if you want to follow me, then that's awesome. And if you don't, that's fine too, because this is the path that I'm on. That is that is the very definition of selfishness. Here's why though. Okay. This is the gap that we're going to fill.
Mhm.
When's the happiest you've ever been in your life? If we go through a bunch of different memories, I can distill down where and why you were the most happiest in those things. I can bet that it was probably not while you were by yourself. You're probably with somebody or
Mm.
doing something with somebody or somebody else was involved. And then the happiest you've ever been has been as a result of the experience that you had with that other person. And that experience came from you likely selflessly serving that person. And that made you feel whole and fulfilled and complete. And that's our purpose,
Mhm.
to take on a responsibility bigger than ourselves to be in service of others. So
Mhm.
when we find that purpose, the thing that we are up to, whatever we're doing. So for you, I know that it's to help other women find and set their boundaries and find themselves and kind of awaken to the journey that they need to be on. And
Mhm.
that provides you with value. That makes you useful. And that's important to you is to be. So you have to be the best that you can so that you can be in service of others. And that's what makes
Mhm.
it not selfish. So it's
Mhm.
selfish so that you cannot be selfish. And that
Mhm.
the only way it works is when those two things are running in tandem. I have to take care of
Mhm.
myself. I have to wake up every morning, and my priority is, before anything else, that I have to exercise, I have to eat healthy, and I have to do something important with my time.
Mhm.
When I do those things, I feel complete and I feel fulfilled. And then when my son needs me, I'm not distracted. I don't hate myself. I'm not stressed out or full of anxiety or depression or whatever. I am there. I am present and I am able to serve my son. When my
Mhm.
girlfriend needs my time, I'm able to show up there and be fulfilled and be complete and give her every part of me because I'm not trying to find that anywhere else. I'm
Mhm.
not relying on her to make me feel complete and whole. I've done that myself and now I can show up the best I can for her. Do you
Mhm.
see what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like, putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? Like, you can't pour
Yes.
from an empty cup, so you have to pour into yourself first before you can pour into others.
Yes, and
Mhm.
and hopefully, here's the problem that a lot of people have is they'll go and they'll fill up their cup, and then they'll take that cup around with them, and then they'll start pouring into everybody else until they're empty.
Mhm.
And now you have to start over, and you have to go find some more and pour it into your cup, and then you repeat this cycle of like everything's good until it's not, and then you start to
Mhm.
form this belief that whenever something good, something bad's gonna happen. I don't know how many people I just triggered there with that, but every time you're feeling good, something bad's gonna happen. But that's why. So
Mhm.
the real trick is what are you finding in your life that's bringing you enough meaning and purpose? What are you doing to fill your own cup so much so that you don't have to pour out? It's
Mhm.
overflowing into other people's cups. Is you're gaining
Mhm.
energy from being in service of others because you are yourself complete and whole, and that came from
Mhm.
that identity, right? When we're very
Mhm.
close to all the things that we know to be true about ourselves, and we have that confidence, now we can go out into the world and I'm doing all the things that keep me fulfilled. And
Mhm.
because of that, now I can make you full. I
Mhm.
can fill your cup. I can give whatever excess I have to you. And then when you kind of feel like, oh, you know what, I'm kind of my cup's still full, but it needs a little bit of work. And now you're in a more healthy balance between this
Mhm.
the ebbs and flows. And so now when something bad happens, which is inevitable, there's always good things in life and bad things in life. You might lose somebody or a pet or a family member or whatever. Like these are terrible things that happen all the time. You might lose a job or something that you had an expectation for didn't work out, but you'll be able to manage that easier because you're more fulfilled and you're more complete in all the other areas of your life.
Mhm.
So you have a reserve of energy to be able to dedicate to healing past the new whatever it is trauma that you're experiencing.
Mhm. Yeah. So, as a final closing note then, because we're coming up on the time, um, because things always come up, you know? So, what are the things that you do um, when you're feeling like a little bit lost or you're feeling like things aren't working out or, like you're kind of going, I call it the depths of despair. That's from direct quote from Anne of Green Gables. But when you kind of see yourself spiraling down into the depths of despair, like how do you get yourself out?
Okay, so the first thing that I do personally is look for what of this is my responsibility? What of this am I doing?
But
Um,
everything is your fault. So,
right.
mhm,
From there, I'm able to identify things um, that exist, just whatever exists currently in that particular state. And so if everything's my fault and I'm responsible for this, what have I been doing? What habits do I have? What beliefs am I holding? What information don't I have? Or whatever. What is there right now that is causing this thing to be true?
mhm,
From there, I look for the lowest hanging fruit, the simplest, easiest, lightweight thing that I can do to tip the first domino. And
mhm.
as we've all played with dominoes when we were young, we set them all up. Once you tip that first one, they all start tipping over. And it might not be perfect. Somewhere there was a domino misplaced that, we got to start over. We got
Yeah,
to keep going, right?
yeah.
Um, there's a couple of things here. Most of it comes from, hey, what's going on right now? Let me just stop and write things down. Here's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling terrible. This hurts. My girlfriend is cheating on me, or my dad is fighting with me, or my whatever it is. Like whatever experience you're going through, you kind of write that thing down and how it's making you feel. And you're putting a name to it, you're labeling it. And this is going to activate different parts of your brain that help you shift into a more logical approach into how to problem solve. We can't do anything when we're in that emotional state. Anger itself or sadness itself shuts off all of the other parts of our brain and activates parts that don't allow us to do anything because we're stuck in those emotions. Cry, get it out. That part's important too. If you got to cry, cry, do that. Because what's actually
Mhm,
happening is you're releasing hormones through your tears.
mhm,
Your body is flushing those hormones out of your body through
mhm,
those tears. And this is real science. Go look that one up.
mhm,
Um, so we sit down, we write these things down, and it's like, what's the simplest, easiest thing that I can do right now to start taking action? Whatever that is, do it. Don't hesitate. Don't think about it. Just go do. And then some progress will be made.
mhm.
And you'll be surprised at how small that thing is. Like, if you're in the depths of despair and your life is shitty and your room's a mess and you haven't gotten out of bed or, whatever, this is how silly this can get. And I'm stealing this from somebody else. I think it was Jordan Peterson, but here,
Jordan Peterson, clean your room.
yeah, and it doesn't even have to be that. Just get up, grab the vacuum, and put it in your room. Then go back to bed.
Mhm,
And then tomorrow, unravel the cord and plug it in, and then go back to bed.
mhm,
And then the next day, if you gotta take a couple of cups to the kitchen while you go pee, then do that. It doesn't
mhm,
have to be significant, but it has to be something.
mhm,
And when you start doing those things, you may challenge yourself, "Hey, can I take one more step today?" If you
mhm,
do bring the vacuum into your room and then you're like, "Yeah, I don't wanna do it." Cool, whatever. You did something, but ask yourself, "Can I plug it in?"
mhm,
"Yeah, whatever. I'll plug it in." And then ask yourself, "Can I turn it on?" You don't have to pick anything up off the floor, just turn it on and vacuum a small little spot. These small things start reaffirming new beliefs about yourself. They start reaffirming new abilities. They unlock new perspectives. So that's it. It's like I'm writing these things down. I'm taking the actions. I'm doing this stuff. The other thing is, a lot of this happens as a result of trauma or something big, some bad thing happened to you that
mhm,
put you here,
mhm,
whatever that was. Could be you lost my dog, I lost my job, I lost my parent, or any other manner of tragedy that has happened to you, whatever that is. Something to help you understand the situation that you're going through is, and this is very important, is that it's not always going to be like this.
Mhm.
You are going to get stronger and it is going to get easier to manage. It's never going to go away. And the sooner you accept that, the easier this is going to get. But imagine this is a box. Yeah. In the box are two things. There's a button at the bottom of the box and there's a ball inside of the box. At first, when this thing happens, the button is huge and so is the ball. And it doesn't matter what happens, the ball is hitting that button every second of every day. And it's just waves of intense pain and emotion. And all you can do is just sit with those emotions, experience those emotions, name the emotions, let them be there, be grateful that they're there, and then simply ask, can I let this go right now? And if you can,
Mhm.
be awesome. That's awesome. Let it go, even if it's 1%. And if you can't, be honest with yourself and accept that you're just going to have to sit in that emotion for a little bit longer.
Mhm.
As time goes by, the button is going to shrink and the ball is going to shrink and it's going to bounce around in the box. And every
Mhm.
once in a while, it's going to hit that button and you're going to feel it, but you're practicing, right? That's what this is
Mhm.
just practicing, getting better at feeling the emotion, welcoming it in, being grateful that it's there, that you're experiencing life, because it's just sadness is just as much as happiness, is just as much as excitement, is just as much as
Mhm.
joy. All of those things are there and they're there for a fleeting moment and then they pass. Some of
Mhm.
them are a little bit more intense than others, but if you can just manage them through these exercises,
Mhm.
every time it comes in, you take a couple of breaths, you center yourself and find some balance. You be grateful, express that gratitude, and then ask if you can release it, and then do that, and over and over and
Mhm.
over again. It's not going to happen on that first time. Again, if even if it's just 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, over time becomes 100%. But right now, you just have to go through those motions until the ball is so small and the button is so small that you're just going through your everyday life, and you're like, oh man, I haven't had that negative thing in such a long time. And that could be a couple of days, it could be a couple hours, could be a couple of years.
Mhm.
Just keep in mind that the path that you're on right now is just practicing dealing with the emotions. That's it. Don't
Mhm.
have any expectation, because it's in the expectation where we get everything wrong. If you set the bar up here and then you don't reach it, it's just proof that I hate myself and I'm a piece of shit.
Mhm.
I'll always be this way because I put the bar up here and I'm never going to reach it. And this was the
Mhm.
point that Jordan Peterson was making in the vacuum analogy here. Is
Yeah.
put the bar down here. That's
Yeah.
okay. You're the
Yeah.
one in control of it. Nobody else is. Forget what everybody else has to say about it. You're the one who has to experience it. So put
Yeah.
the bar low enough that you can get to it. And
Mhm.
then once you've reached it, okay, now I can just notch it up a little
Yeah.
bit.
Well, I think what he also says is don't compare yourself to other people, compare
Mm,
yourself to who you were yesterday. And
yeah.
so as long as you're improved from who you were yesterday, you're doing good.
Yeah. A really great exercise for this, especially for men that are listening. Maybe I don't know if women will get the same effect out of this. They could probably do this if they did the squats instead, because
Mm.
women and butts or whatever. But 100 push-ups a day.
Yeah.
This is tough. So I have a whiteboard in my office, and on it I drew a 10 by 10 grid, and then I X'd out the first day, and then I went to it and I started doing 100 push-ups a day. And the way that I do it is I do 15 close, 15 military, 20 wide, and then I just take a break and then I repeat that again.
Yeah.
Um, at first I couldn't do it. I could not get to the end of it. So I had to break it up to do that, like one half here, one half at the end of the day. And it
Mhm.
was a nightmare my first
Mhm.
10 days. And then I was like, you know what? Actually, this is getting a little bit easier. I'm not quite as sore anymore. But I
Mhm.
promised myself I was going to do 100 push-ups for 100 days. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Mhm.
Now, this is the best gains I've ever had. I have pectoral muscles where I never did before. I was 140
Mhm.
pounds soaking wet, and now I'm 180. And
Mhm.
I've been doing it for probably 2 years now. But
Mhm.
um, the point isn't about the push-ups and it's not about the gains. And women, if you want to get better butts, just do 50 squats or 100 squats a day. And trust me, the compliments that I receive on a regular basis from doing my 50 squats a day, I'm just saying. um, the point is keeping making a promise to yourself and keeping the promise.
Mhm.
Right? And I love there's like all these challenges, the 75 hard challenge, and then there's this challenge or whatever, but that's not sustainable.
Mhm.
So this one guy on my timeline came on, he said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do the forever mediocre challenge. Just every day, I'm just gonna do a couple of things. I'm gonna try to drink water. I'm gonna do at least 15 minutes of exercises. I'm gonna try to read a book. And if I don't, I'm gonna forgive myself. But if I do, I'm getting better no matter what.
Mhm.
And so
Well, and I think That's the important part too, right? Is like learning
Yeah.
how to forgive yourself, right? Because we often, like, especially, the new year right now, it's January 8th, right? So everybody has their New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. And what the reason why those things fail is because we start berating ourselves when we don't necessarily, do what we intended to do, right? So rather than that, it's like I think we talked about this earlier, like identifying the wins and celebrating the wins versus, "Oh, fuck, like, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I missed, some push-ups, or I didn't read my 10 pages," or whatever your goal was, right?
Yeah.
So
The thing I tell my son is whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are
mhm.
right.
Yeah.
And whatever you put your attention on is what you're going to attract. And
Mhm.
this comes back to that manifestation thing we touched on. It's like your beliefs form your habits form your outcomes, and your outcomes are a direct outcome of what your beliefs were. And so if
Mhm.
you don't believe that having money is good and you think having money is evil, then your habits are that you're not going to do things that make you money, and then you're going to
Mhm.
be poor forever. That's
Mhm.
the outcome.
Mhm. Yeah.
But if your belief is that money is actually a tool that I can use to make other people's lives better, like think about it from this perspective. If I start a
Mhm.
company and I require specific skills like video editing, you know how many students are out there right now who are tinkering around on their computers trying to learn video editing that would love compensation so that they could pay their bills?
Mhm.
Why start a company that allows businesses to do marketing through video advertising, and I need somebody to edit my videos, and now I just gave that person a job and I am responsible for their livelihood now, and I can't
Mhm.
do that unless I get money. Therefore, money is very good to give to
Mhm.
somebody else so that they can provide for their family.
Mhm.
It's a
But
shift of
also
belief.
yeah, but there's also the idea of that there's, like, the idea of money being in circulation, right? Like,
Mm,
that's why
yes.
they say, like, money is like a river, right? And it flows. So currency, right? Because currency is like a river. So we do have to wrap up, though, because I have a chiropractor appointment in 10 minutes. So or 13 minutes to be precise, but,
Yes. This has been a wonderful
um
conversation, Samantha.
yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for being on the show. And maybe we'll have you back again sometime because I feel like we could talk about so many different things and go down so many different rabbit holes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's hard to
So
stay surface level and still like provide value. So
yeah,
I'd love to expand on some of these ideas even deeper.
I love going down rabbit holes. So we'll definitely have you back and we'll do more of this. So okay. So where is the best place for people to find you online if they want to work with you or chat with you or
Right now, the fastest way to get to me is through the business side of my stuff. I'm still setting up the men's coaching part of this. So
mhm.
seventreemedia.com. On there
Okay.
somewhere, you'll find access to a calendar or a contact form or whatever. Just reach out
Mhm.
to me, and I'm happy to be of use to whoever needs me.
Okay, perfect. Well, we will post the link to that. Well, you will because you're going to be uploading this. And thanks again, Devin. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.